Good morning, everybody. It's July 20th, 2015. The dog is in the kennel. It's time for another edition of Weber This Week here on FingerLakes1.com. Today we stretch out to the beautiful city of Geneva, most importantly, the Ramada, the beautiful Ramada on the Lakefront. We have a couple of dudes in today. They're going to talk about food and also the bar, the entertainment side of the business, which, of course, we introduce our good friends and certainly Josh Hurlburt, the Executive Chef of the Ramada. Josh, thanks for coming in this morning.
Great to be here.
And, of course, Jason Hagerman. I've known Jason a long time. He's in charge of what, entertainment and bar?
Well, entertainment.
Entertainment. Okay, so we're going to talk about at length this morning about the Ramada. Jason's going to give us some idea of events coming up. Of course, it's a night spot. It's a great area for entertainment, and Josh and his team put on a great amount of food, and they do a very nice job of it. And I might add, if you haven't been to the Ramada, a lot of the young folks, and not just young, they have the Live After 5 on Friday nights, which is sensational. They draw a big crowd. And, of course, they had the clam bake working on Sunday afternoons for us old folks that can listen to better music, a little better music than I can handle the old rock and roll stuff. But let's start off with Jason. Jason, first off, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Jason is also a city councilman. And in the political world of things, how long have you been a city council guy?
Finishing up second term right now, so it's a total of 8 years right now.
Do you like it still? It's still
Yes.
interesting?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's always some interesting topics going on. So.
Well, that's good, and that's got to take some time away as far as your schedule. Now, talk about yourself as your background goes, where you went to school, further education, and how'd you get involved in working with Ramada?
Boy, I've got my path goes all over.
Okay.
But I grew up in Clifton Springs, so I'm native to the Finger Lakes area. I went off to Buffalo for college, came back about 15 years ago. I was working with Life in the Finger Lakes magazine. Came down to the Ramada 3 years ago, and currently, I'm manager of entertainment, so I'm involved with booking the entertainment for Live After 5, Kickback Sundays, you mentioned. We also have live music in our lounge on Saturday evenings, Friday and Saturday during the off months. But a year ago, we brought on a new GM, Jason Fulton, and he recognized that the food and beverage area is where we need to pick up our game. Mm-hmm. So shortly after he came on board, we put a call out to bring on an executive chef. And this is the gentleman right here. Mm-hmm. So our banquet services picked up, our restaurant services picked up. Last fall, we brought on a new restaurant manager, Chad Gage. He's done spectacular work. His previous gig was up in Rochester at the
Strathallan, yeah. Sure.
And so real quick, I just want to mention,
Sure.
too, in August, the brand new edition of Wine Spectator, the Pier House restaurant at the Ramada is recognized for our extensive wine list. We're over 180 bottles of wine selections now. Very heavily representing the Finger Lakes wine region, too, because we're doing well because of that area. So,
And it's pretty amazing, too, Jason. Jason Hagerman, the manager of entertainment for the Ramada on the Lakefront in Geneva, New York, along with Josh Hurlburt, the executive chef of the Ramada, are my special guests this morning on Weber This Week. Jason, one thing I didn't realize as we were talking before we went on the air, the fact that the hotel will mark 18 years of his existence.
yeah, it's amazing. It's some people think it's always been there, and for the locals, you can't believe it's been that long already.
And speaking of entertainment, I guess if you are a member of a band locally or around the area, they must be knocking on your door for you to book them. Is that something that happens an awful lot with you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so do you audition these folks if you haven't never heard of them before? Or how do you determine whether or not they're worthy of coming to the Ramada? Is that a gut call on your side?
Well, yeah. For Live After 5, what we did this year is we went for some more established party bands,
Right.
the Nice Guys, Sky Coasters, groups like that. So they have a reputation. They've been playing forever. Ruby Shoes we had a few weeks ago, and that worked out very well for us. But we also pick out some groups that might have a varied sound or a varied clientele. Because what we wanted to bring people to the property. We recognize that by having an event like Live After 5, it's an economic boost for the city of Geneva and for the area. So.
Okay, so I was just thinking, knowing that there's bands there every week, there's got to be young startup bands that say, "Hey, I want my shot, man. I want my shot." And you having band history certainly can recognize that.
Absolutely.
Well, let's turn our attention now to Josh. Josh, of course, you mentioned before we went on the air that you're from the Canandaigua-Gorham area.
Crystal Beach, south
Crystal
of
Beach.
Canandaigua. Yeah.
Talk about your background, where you went to school, further education, any degrees, etc.
Sure. I grew up, like I just said, in that area. High school at Marcus Whitman.
Yep, I used to go there and do some games many times.
Nice. And then as far as that, I just kind of had on-the-job training. Nothing really classical in the sense that, it was degree-oriented. Just had the opportunity to work under some really great chefs. And luckily in this trade, if you work hard and just keep learning, it'll come to you.
Some of the restaurants locally, maybe, if you worked in?
Yeah, my previous job before the Pure House was at the Inn on the Lake in Canandaigua.
Sure.
And I was there for an extended period of time, about 8 years. I was the executive chef when I left there. I've worked in Buffalo, Rochester area, just kind of learning my chops as I go.
Now, certainly, a curiosity kills the cat, but I've always wanted, since my name's Dog, that's kind of a good walk into that. I guess for a chef, do you oversee the ordering of food, make sure there's enough food for various dishes you want to serve that particular week, or how does that work out? I've always wondered how a chef determines that.
A lot of it's experience and a lot of little guesswork and a lot of luck sometimes. Nothing's perfect,
right?
But that is definitely one of my responsibilities, and it's great to have good people around you that are willing to help you, and that's definitely something that I have built a great team down there at the Pure House, and it's definitely a lot easier when you don't have to go it alone.
I was going to say, you would agree that an executive chef is only as good as the people on the line.
Absolutely.
Because if they screw up, it's bad on you.
I take it a step further. I always say my kitchen's only as strong as my dishwashers are.
There you go.
Those guys are the ones, executing the vision and making sure that everything is perfect.
Now, pursuing the food aspect, since I enjoy eating as Jimmy does, and we all do, we enjoy different dishes, is as you look at a menu, and I know that the menu continues to change, what makes a determination? Do you do it by history of what people have been eating there over the years, or do you come out with some new style dishes that may appeal to the public?
What we try to do is we try to be as seasonal as possible. We change our menus about 4 times a year at the very least, and it's a lot of research and development, just like with anything else. We'll get an idea, or you see a trend, or see something you liked working with. Maybe we had done as a special before, and then you kind of just keep bringing it to that next level to where you got all the kinks out of it, and just kind of pursue it from there. And people think a menu is just this thing that you create, and it's easy, but it takes us 6 weeks to 2 months to really get everything to where we want it.
And I hasten to add, I bet you do a lot of makeup dishes and test them before you put them on the menu.
Absolutely. That's the only way to learn.
That's right. And I bet Jason Hagerman is probably first in line to try a dish.
Oh, yeah, he's pushing people out of the way.
Well, listen, we've got Josh. Jason, certainly the Ramada has a reputation of being a must-meet place, which I think is a credit to you and all the people there. I have a lot of young friends, including my daughter, that talk about Live After 5, and that's going to make you feel good that everybody in the area, not everybody, but a host of people, can't wait for Friday Night After 5.
It's a great series. That series has been going on about 15 years, I believe, and it had a slow start, but before I even started working there myself, I recognized that that location is a spectacular location, and it's I consider it to be the cottage lakefront property for people that don't have a cottage. I mean, we want a place for people to go to. They can enjoy the warm summer months lakeside, and that's what we're trying to do is make it appealing to as wide a range of people as we can.
And I brought up a lot. When I was with Gould's, we used to have meetings there, and Jason says they still go back there for meetings. And we used to be in one of the conference rooms, the glass window rooms, and we would look out, and Josh brought it up, look out at the beautiful water on a day like today, saying, they give us a couple breaks in the morning, and then we break for lunch. We eat outside. I remember the whole routine. It was spectacular. Many times at the Ramada in my Gould's tenure. Thank God I've been out there 8.5 years, and it's nice to be retired. Well, listen, folks, it's 9:40 on a Monday morning. Hope you all had a good weekend. By the way, for you golf fans, the British Open is being telecast as we speak it. On ESPN, the final round got pushed back. And by the way, Jimmy, if you bought me a ticket to St. Andrews, I wouldn't go. That is the godforsaken worst weather in the world. It's either raining, it's either 50-mile-an-hour winds, or it's 48 degrees.
It was sunny there this week. a
Oh,
little
great!
sunny.
Yeah, the wind was only about 40 miles
I'd
an
go.
hour.
I'd love to play golf.
Would
on
you?
that course.
Well, I just want to let you know, if you bought me a ticket, I wouldn't go. I'd return it. Return to sender.
You
Elvis
wouldn't have to
Presley.
hold your breath anyways. I wasn't
Thinking about picking up a
heading to
tab?
the travel agent anytime soon.
All right. Well, I just wondered if you were. But again, we got a lot going on. A lot going on as far as upcoming week. Weather's supposed to be decent, not in the 90s, which I think is good for me. We got a lot scheduled, and we're going to talk about some sports comments after we hear from our great sponsors that make this show, Weber This Week, possible. We'll be right back after our break. Cayuga Lake National Bank, Bill Ryan and his team for all of your banking needs. Offices in Union Springs and Aurora. A fine sponsor of this show for over 30 years. DA Liquor, Seneca Falls. Amy Padula and her great team will find that right spirit for you every time. Tell Amy the dog sent you. Cicino's. Live, laugh, eat well. It's the Italian way. It's also the Cicino's way. Place your order today at Cicinos.com. Locations, Main Street, Waterloo, and 401 Exchange Street in Geneva. Steve Wadhams, Wadhams Enterprises, your employer of choice. Proud supporter of this show and local athletics. Bob and Leslie Ullman, owners of the Ullman Theater, in Lions as well as the Newark Pilots, a minor league baseball team with a major league ballpark. SenecaFallsCountryClub.com, awesome 18-hole layout, offering a 12-month payment plan. Home of the toughest par 4 in central New York. Wilson Press, WPress.com, Seneca Falls. Rich Ricky, my good friend, and his team can handle all of your printing and mailing needs. Rich Ricky, Wilson Press, a fine sponsor of Weber This Week. Welcome back, everybody. It's a Dog with H. Weber, along with Josh Hurlburt, the executive chef of the Ramada on the Lakefront in Geneva, along with Jason Hagerman, who's in charge of entertainment up there. We're going to get back to these gentlemen in a minute, but a couple of sports notes. As I mentioned, the British Open getting delayed a day. The live coverage is on ESPN as we speak. So if you're going to play hooky, nice time to check out your smartphone. Maybe run down the hall and check on the scoring. And, of course, if you want to take the day off, you might want to go right now because it just started a few minutes ago. The leaders did. Kind of a weird event. Jordan Spieth going for 3 in a row. Unheard of in the world. The last person to do that, of course, the legendary Ben Hogan. Can he do it? He's only a shot behind. It would be amazing if he does do it. But, again, we'll see later on how it all turns out. And by the way, ESPN, of course, covering all 4 rounds, has lost the British Open, thank God, to NBC, who takes it over next year. In my view, as a sports guy who's watched sports since I was 7 years old, knee-high to a grasshopper, that coverage to me was horrific. Too many commercial breaks. And what really irritates me about ESPN's golf coverage, they show a shot, let's say by Josh, and they show it hit in there about 12 feet away, and you never go back and see what he did. 20 minutes later, you find out he didn't birdie the hole. I mean, it's just horrific, and I think their coverage is second to worst in my mind, and thank God they've lost the rights. NBC will be in next year with Johnny Miller and Dan Hicks, and I can't wait for it. And by the way, speaking of commercials, if you watch the British Open, folks, how many times, and Jimmy's going to like this because I'm sure he watched some of it, how many times did you see the kid in the bar with the baseball cap on who just played Golf Fantasy and won $1 million? Was that 71,000 times we've seen that in the last 3 days? It's just amazing.
DraftKings.com.
Oh yeah, it's good.
I'm on DraftKings.com.
Are you?
Yeah.
You didn't win $1 million?
Not yet, but
Okay,
I
good.
actually am in contention
You are?
with my British team. I
Oh,
mean,
baby.
the thing is there's for $3 you can get in a British Open pool with 171,000 other people, and
Nice.
if you finish in the top 20,000, you win something.
Okay.
So right now I'm hovering about 9,000 with my team, which would be about close to $100.
Well, I hope you win.
All right.
I hope you win. Forget the ticket to St. Andrews. I'll take a lunch. Hey, listen, baseball news. Yankees after the break still playing good baseball. They beat Felix Hernandez. Not actually, Felix didn't take the loss yesterday. Seattle's ace, one of the best pitchers in baseball. Yankees win 2 out of 3 against Seattle. Of course, 2-1. Teixeira, who, by the way, had a horrible last couple of years with injuries. Mark Teixeira, the great first baseman. He hits one out, gives the Yankees a 2-1 lead, and their great relief pitching hung on to win that game. And Teixeira's got better home runs and better RBIs now than he had all of the last couple of years. So look for a strong year from this guy. And the Yankees aren't going away. A lot of people thought the Yankees were going to fade. They still might. But I think they got a 3-4 game lead in the American League East. it'll be interesting to see how that transpires. And by the way, I was at the American Legion, speaking of Geneva, and Josh and Jason's good old place up there to Ramada. Went up there. My wife Mary is a graduate of DeSales, and they had a little reunion type of dinner up there on Friday night. Had a chance to meet a young lady, and I want to send out kudos to her and recognize her this morning on my show, and that is Patty Lavoie. Patty Lavoie was not a DeSales graduate, but her husband Dick was, who, by the way, is #1 Giant fan of all time. But Patty Lavoie is a huge Mets mania fan. She loves the Mets. We're going to send her in later for a psychiatrist to check her head out to see why she's a Mets fan. But all seriousness, I've been a Mets hater all my life. But Patty, if you're checking out this morning, it was great talking to you. And oh, by the way, she cannot stand Tiger Woods. Okay, and I think that had to do with his extracurricular activities. But I wanted to send out kudos and welcome Patty Lavoie as a watcher of Weber this week. And another thing, Jimmy, that brought kind of sadness to my heart, even though I'm not a Bills fan, I've declared my declaration about not being a Bills fan in football. I don't know. I've never been thrilled about that team in Western New York. But I got to tell you something. One of the best play-by-play guys, Van Miller, Jimmy, who even though I used to turn on the radio, listen to his play-by-play description of the games, hoping they were going to lose, but also knowing that this guy has amazing ability for play-by-play. Van Miller, one of the best football guys, announcers that I've ever heard, and we lost him over the weekend.
And, you know, he got to cover the Bills when they were good.
Yep.
And back in the 80s and 90s.
Yep, that's right.
So,
hey, but Van Miller, who had a taste for the play-by-play and did an outstanding job, and even though I'm not a Bills fan, I got to give credit where credit is due. This guy could call a game like nobody else. So enough about the sports topics. Let's go back and talk about some food and some entertainment. Jason Hagerman, of course. Jason, talk a little bit about, you got events now. We're in the July time frame. You got a lot going on. Why don't you run down a few things that are going to be coming up in the next couple of months?
You mean like specific dates? Or?
Sure, just dates and who might be appearing,
Well, this upcoming Friday, which is a busy night in Geneva with Cruising Night.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a huge downtown event, but we're still going to have entertainment there. I know that some people don't like the huge crowds down there, so we do have music this upcoming Friday with Soul Express. But then we got some bands people should know. Primetime Funk, Eric Lee Bedingfield. That's a up and rising country act playing on a national scale. He's actually playing the following night in Watkins Glen at the NASCAR event.
Okay.
So we'll have him Friday night. And then we have Nick and the Nice Guys, Sky Coasters, Showtime, Brass Inc., and then speaking of local bands, Junkyard Field Trip.
Okay.
Which they do a great job. The singer and guitar player is Rob Smith. He's a Geneva born and raised. He's a fantastic musician. So,
I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about politics a little bit, since you are a councilman. Are you happy where the progress is with the city of Geneva? A lot of discussion about moving it with, I think you guys did a plan for what you want to see Geneva in the next several years. Are you happy the progress that's being made? Are you concerned about certain roadblocks that are in your way, or what's your overview right now of where the city of Geneva is going?
I think Geneva's been on an upswing for the last 10 to 20 years. I hear from visitors at the Ramada as well that when they venture downtown, they come back and they're pleased. It's a nice downtown community. We've done a good job getting the storefronts filled up. I think Geneva's poised to continue that trend. Of course, tourism is a major economic boost. The wine and grape industry is supporting that. We're developing the Lakefront for the city to make it more accessible and destination. I think things are going in the right direction, absolutely.
Now, do you think some of that's due to cooperation between government and private business and the community? Because I know Geneva's been doing a lot lately, whether it's, you have a BID, you have a Events Factory, just named Great American City.
Yes,
and events like the Muscle Man continue to grow, and all that involves a lot of coordination. And is there something that Geneva's doing different than maybe other towns or cities are? That's
everybody's heard the phrase, work smarter, not harder, and I think we're doing a little bit of both. Absolutely, collaboration has been recognized. We recently were the city of Geneva as well as the city of Canandaigua were recognized for collaborating on 2 positions where instead of each city both hiring a full-time person for these positions, we're jointly hiring 1 person. So each city is working together. Our councils are supposed to get together, and again, just to help discuss issues each other one might have and how their, respective counterparts are handling that. City's currently going through a comprehensive plan feedback with the community, so there's a lot of information coming forward at this time, and we'll continue to move forward.
Now, before we go to Josh on more food delights, Jason, as far as you mentioned, you're in charge of entertainment side. So, if somebody wanted to book a wedding, etc., they would book with the hotel. How does that work?
Oh, absolutely.
A party.
Yeah, we have obviously the main phone number. Just call the main phone
Right.
number, and then we would put that person in touch with our sales office. We
Gotcha.
have 3 to 4 people up there that we handle from bus tour groups. We handle rehearsal dinners, wedding
Okay.
ceremonies, receptions, everything.
And then if they wanted entertainment for that event, you could get that for them.
I can arrange that, or at least give some suggestions.
Right.
Some places have, some people obviously have their own idea of who they're going to bring in, but we have all the resources and information and background also.
Good. And the guy that's dear to my heart is the executive chef who likes to cook, and he's in charge of overseeing that phenomenal restaurant, the Pier. Certainly, is there a favorite type of food that you particularly like versus another? Is Italian versus fish or chicken or anything like that?
I kind of stay away from as far as pigeonholing it into one
Okay.
nationality, but
Right.
I love, and this is the funniest thing, I love cooking seafood dishes.
Huh.
Something I don't eat.
Really?
So I mean, I will try everything. I know, but it's not something I don't
You're
appreciate it.
allergic to the
No
shells?
allergies. I could eat a $30 a pound piece of fish, and I'm going to tell you it tastes like a Gordon's fish stick.
Really?
It's just something I've never really, I don't appreciate enough, but it's something that I appreciate how it's done. Something we try to do at the Pure House is use sustainable fish, stuff that's environmentally friendly, things that aren't overfished. So I appreciate bringing fish that maybe isn't well known, and having people try it for the first time and then recognizing, oh, this is something I like. Trying to introduce people to new things more so than just kind of steering them down a path they might have been down before.
Chef does a good job of layering flavors. I mean, even with on our menu item, we have the salmon with the raspberry.
We have a local Riesling and raspberry puree, little roasted Jerusalem artichokes.
And it's just flavors that I would never think of combining, but they marry so well. So
So what do you cook at home?
I'm not allowed to cook at home.
Oh no, you're probably sick of it, right? By the time you get home.
Well, see, I don't mind doing it. My girlfriend, God bless her, apparently I'm real good at making messes and not picking up after myself, and she's just not a big fan of that.
So she handles it.
Yeah.
That's nice. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. And of course, Josh, as you know, people are mindful of the calories and mindful of the requirements of vegetarian food, etc. So it isn't like the old days, and I can speak of the old days since I just turned 70, where you never saw that. And now today, restaurants and chefs and your assistants have to be mindful that you're not just looking out at the crowd in the restaurant. You have to appease people from all walks and all desires of eating.
Sure.
Totally changed.
Yeah, that comes with people being more educated with what they're putting in their own bodies and what they're trying to eat or achieve, specific dietary needs. All my staff is trained as far as gluten-free and celiac is really at the forefront, and they'll either know what we can substitute. We try to cater to all the masses, especially being in a hotel. There's nights definitely where we're running back and you're looking at ingredient lists and things, to make sure, and we always try to cater to those people, the best we can.
I could say real quick, just yesterday I received a compliment from we had a family in from Ohio, and I didn't tell you this,
No.
but she came forward. Her husband has celiacs, and they had eaten at a restaurant, and she said it was just fantastic. They had no dietary issues based on the menu selections, and the service staff was knowledgeable enough to be able to make sure that they would do well. So she approached me, stopped me specifically to thank us for having a fantastic restaurant. She said, "You guys are fine dining. You need to get the word out."
Sure. I mean, and that's one thing too that makes it easier for us is when we do a lot of everything's from scratch that we can do, so we know what's in all the food. It's not. It's processed as little as it can be before we get our hands on it. So that makes it a lot easier for us too to help accommodate these people.
Interesting, and certainly Josh Hurlburt, the executive chef of the Ramada up in Geneva, and of course Jason Hagerman in charge of entertainment. Jason, as you look forward, mentioning about as the Ramada, as the city expands and does more and more, the Ramada will be pressed for coming up with additional ideas. And you were mentioning about the wine aspect, the amount of wine you are currently serving and will continue to add on. Did you ever think in our wildest dream, and believe it or not, as Josh has mentioned, he doesn't do seafood. I have two brothers that are wine lushes. They love wine, and I don't drink it. And the reason I don't drink it, and you guys aren't old enough to remember, but there was a drink called Ripple. It was about $1.5 gallons for $1 when I was 14 or 15, which was, excuse me, 1958, 59. We were behind the library drinking this trash down. And tell you what, Josh, when I got enough money to afford a glass of real wine, I didn't want it.
Yeah.
And it's weird, as you mentioned that, but I never, ever, ever have wine. And it just, not that I don't want to try it, I just don't have the ambition to try it.
Sure.
Based on my history with the old, and you can't compare the two, but it's something that always sticks in this demented mind. But as you expand and you're always looking for creativity, and I guess since we have the show, if anyone has ideas to you that may come up with different ideas to enhance the Ramada, you're certainly open to that.
Oh, certainly.
Because, people's opinions are very important.
I love feedback,
Yeah.
positive or negative. We've been getting a lot more positive feedback lately than we did just a year ago. So it's obviously a lot has to do with having Executive Chef Dr. Executive Chef Hurlburt on board, because he brought a team with him, and he knows what he's doing over there. So it's great when people grab me specifically. I'm around the front desk a lot,
Right.
and so I hear a lot more than I think you do. But people will specifically say they've had a great experience. A lot of people typically that travel don't trust a hotel restaurant, but we also especially started rebranding the restaurant. So we've got a brand new logo we put out last year. And we're trying to identify the restaurant as being a standalone gem.
Talk about some other people. We got a couple of minutes left. Talk about some other people that are involved in that operation up there, as far as ahead of just a few names. Throw a few names out.
Chad Gage.
Okay.
Yeah,
the
he's all
restaurant
over the place. He's somebody I've known professionally and personally almost 20 years.
And what does Chad do?
He's the restaurant manager.
Okay.
He's basically the left hand and my right
Okay.
hand in the food and beverage part of it. And
We also recently brought on Tim Ruthven. He's our banquet manager, and he's raised the level of service there in a very quick turnaround. So.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of this stems from, as we said, Mr. Jason Fulton's really changed the culture over there and really kind of put everybody, seeing that light at the end of the tunnel and what we're trying to achieve. And I think we're starting to bear some fruit from it, and it's very exciting. I got to say it's very fulfilling when you get those compliments, from this guy here.
And as far as the front desk, who oversees the front desk operations?
Carrie Mann is the manager of the front desk, and she's put together a good team there as well. We get a lot of compliments.
Having done that part-time, that's a tough job.
Yes.
That is a tough job, boy. Really is.
It is. Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
You got to be everything to everybody.
Yeah.
And you got to do it right and on time. And having experience that I can relate to what it's like. And I can imagine in crushed times, they've got to be really on top of their game.
And what we try, again, Fulton. You mentioned it. It's the whole field, the whole agenda there is to have everybody inclusive, have everybody understand that their position is more than just, what their job description might be. So we try to do a lot of cross training, helping everybody out. Everybody helps everybody.
That's right. Well, guys, as you look at the clock, we're at 10 o'clock, so it's time to bid farewell. But I certainly, Josh, appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to come on and talk about what you're doing for the hotel, and we'd like to have you come back someday.
Absolutely, you got it.
All right, Jason, how about yourself? Will you come back as well? We appreciate your
anytime.
views, and
Yeah, I love it. Appreciate it.
and I certainly appreciate both you taking time out, and we look forward to having you come back down the road.
Fantastic.
Give us an update.
You got it.
All right, Josh Hurlburt, the executive chef of the Ramada Inn in beautiful downtown Geneva, along with Jason Hagerman in charge of entertainment of the Ramada. And, of course, folks, if you want to have some fun, again, live after 5. And, of course, they got that Sunday afternoon. Is that still going on, the Sunday afternoon deal? Or is that
Oh, yeah.
still off? All right.
Sundays all through the summer, 3 to 7.
Ooh, baby. you might see the dog and looking for those famous lost and found saw potatoes. I hate to say that. Take care, everybody. Listen, have a great week, everybody. By the way, upcoming guest for the show, just to give you an idea, young man that Jimmy Senecropi, who's the president of Seneca Falls Country Club, put in as acting general manager in charge of the operations this year. Dennis Lay, a young kid who we had on the air on this show several months ago. We're bringing him back next week to get an update how his experiences turned out, how he's like doing what he's doing down there, trying to control a lot of operations at Seneca Falls Country Club. And it's a great week for golf. So get down to the Seneca Falls Country Club and play some golf. Dennis Lay joins me next week on the couch. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more. In the following week, we have a special guest. Of course, Jessica and Company, the fantastic hair salon down the street here on Fall Street. She's moving to Waterloo. Jessica and Company are moving to Waterloo. I don't know what the timetable on that is. We hope to have her here August the 3rd. Our fingers are crossed. It may not work out based on her ability to close the deal, but we want to get her in. Jessica, of course, looking forward to having her on the couch talking about her business and the move. And then on August the 10th, we bring back a young lady that came on my show and ended up having her own show, and that, of course, is Jessica Lahr. She does FLX Weekly, and Jimmy does a great job with that show. She
Yeah,
does
absolutely.
fantastic.
Current reigning Mrs. New York, America.
Nice. And a Geneva girl.
Yeah.
Lives in Geneva.
Yeah.
Oh, man, she's a gorgeous woman, and she's as nice as she's gorgeous. So take care, everybody. Speaking for Josh and Jason and Jimmy, the dog says, see you later. Bye-bye.
Support great local content like this by becoming a patron of FingerLakes1.com. Visit patreon.com/FL1.
FingerLakes1.com